Welcome everyone to Little Tokyo 2's new podcast series From Startup to Growup. We offer short, sharp 20-minute overviews and interviews of successful founders, as well as 40-minute extended founder interviews with successful people who have graduated from LT2. I'm your host, founder and CEO of LT2, Jock Fairweather. Deb, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
That's okay. Thanks for the opportunity, Jock.
My pleasure. So you've been around the traps for a long time. I've been on panels with you years and years ago. I'm not sure how many years, maybe 2 or 3. Doesn't matter. So I'm keen to understand your journey prior to PetCloud, and then we'll get into some PetCloud chat.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so back in 2007, I believe I had the problem myself not being able to find a pet sitter in my local neighbourhood. I had had a change in living circumstances and who I lived with and where I lived, and I bought a house and I had a new neighbourhood, and I was far away from family, and I had brothers and sisters like across town and that sort of thing. So I really didn't have too many options. And I had to fly interstate at the drop of a hat to go see clients because I was doing digital consulting and without much notice. And so eventually I came across a flyer that was in my street, and I contacted the company, and it just went to a message service, and they ended up contacting me after hours, so it must have been a part-time type of company, and they said, yep, we've got the lady for you, we're going to send you across town, but it was to like a lady...
To drop your pet off, you mean?
To drop my pet off, but I had no idea about her, about her qualifications, her experience, whether her backyard was fenced, whether there was a rabid dog there, whether she had...
Yours was a dog?
I had a dog, but at the time I had very little time, very little options, so I just went, okay, fingers crossed. And I went across town, went to meet her, and that dropping my dog off was fine, and it came back fine in one piece. The next time when I needed to have a sitter, she wasn't available, and I was like, oh, what do I do now? So I thought, I guess I'll try a kennel. It can't be too bad.
They're expensive, aren't they?
They're expensive, but I also learned there's a few other things about kennels. So, so I went along to a kennel, and I said, oh, can I have a tour? And she goes, oh, no, we don't do that here. And I was like, oh. So
you can't do a tour to look at the facility?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, because it upsets the other dogs, apparently.
Right.
And so I just thought, so I said, oh, you mean I can't see where my dog's going to sleep and where he's going to play or anything? She goes, no, we don't do that. And I was like, okay, maybe this is standard practice. And then I found out a long way down the track that a lot of kennels typically aren't accredited by any organisation because their hygiene standards are pretty poor.
Right.
There's a lot of animal cruelty type complaints. Not all kennels. There's some kennels with very high standards. But anyway, so at the time I didn't have any other options. I dropped my dog off there and caught a plane out and went to meet with a client interstate. And on the way back, my plane got delayed, and I rang up the lady, and she said, oh, no, sorry, I can't keep the doors open for you. You're going to have to pay for another night's mining for your dog. And I thought, your dog? I bet you don't even know which one my dog is. And I thought, if you can't keep the doors open from 5 till 5:30, what's going on there? Are you just shutting a big cage and then going off to another property?
War of the Planet of the Apes.
Elsewhere. So I was like, this place is dodgy. Anyway, so I came back, and eventually the next day I picked my dog up, and he was a bit shaken up, and I don't know why he was all shaking and stuff. When we went for a walk out on the esplanade, he developed this bronchial cough.
Right.
And another lady stopped me, and she goes, oh, he's got kennel cough. And I went, what do you mean, kennel cough?
True.
Is it just accepted that if your dog goes to a kennel,
You get the
you
cough.
get kennel cough? And she goes, yeah, pretty much. Because like there's just poor hygiene standards. And I said, well, the lady wouldn't let me in to see the kennel. And she
It's
goes,
because you
yeah.
might get kennel cough.
Yeah, I might get kennel cough. So a long story short, it got to the stage where I actually, it was a constant challenge with trying to fly interstate and juggle flights, and I ended up finding a lovely lady who ended up adopting my dog. But I'd been through a lot of situations with my dog, and it was my family, but at the time I had to move houses after I sold that place, and I couldn't find a dog-friendly place to move into. And so that's the point at which I had to adopt him out. But I just thought, this is ridiculous, like this has got to be online. Surely other people have got to be in this situation. So then I was in this really awkward situation of going around to dog parks and actually stalking people but not having any dog of my own, and just walking up to them and going, oh, excuse me, like, what do you do with your dog when you go on holidays? And I felt really weird at first. I had to take my friend Joe Utukalo, who I met.
A person.
Yeah. Had to take her with me because initially I
Took her for a walk.
Well, I had to take her with me to give me guts.
No, I'm joking.
Oh, sorry. I had to, put her on a lead. But I had to get the guts to actually ask people, because it just must have looked so ridiculous with me, no dog, asking people what they do with their dog. And she gave me the guts because it's so important to get out of the building and actually ask how much of a problem this is.
Yeah.
And so I kept on asking people, and I got more and more braver as time went along. But eventually I got to the answers of, well, I just wouldn't travel, or I'd leave them with family and friends, but if they weren't available, I'd cancel my trip. So it actually found it was a big barrier to travel. And so to fast forward a few more years, I was doing some more consulting throughout Europe, came back to Australia, worked for another insurance company, was asked to fly away as well to do more consulting, and I just thought, I came back to that whole dog situation. What do people with dogs do? And ended up working for Virgin Australia and heading up their website as product owner. And I got a call from Amazon asking if I wanted to go work in Seattle. And I just thought, I should feel flattered, but I just thought, I just don't want to be another cog in a big machine. And I just...
Pretty sweet machine though. Slick machine.
Yeah, but I just thought, I really wanted to solve this problem.
Yes.
And I knew it was an opportunity, and it was something that, it was like a soul project for me.
Cool.
As in, I really had a driving urge to do it. And so I sat and prototyped it up in my garage at home at the place where I lived. And
like in Vision or something?
I used Axure.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was all interactive prototypes, and I got some freelancers from freelancer.com.
Yeah.
And at night I would do stand-ups over Skype with an Indian offshore dev team, and built the website with them to the point where it was transactional, and then got...
And you funded that on your own?
Yeah. And then I ended up getting an onshore person to put a really nice, slick-looking video interface on it, so it looked gorgeous. And then I pitched it to RSPCA and got some seed funding from them.
True. Do they have a fund that does that, or you're lucky?
So the reason why, as a charity, they were able to invest in a commercial project is because it helps them achieve their objectives of reducing the rate of animal abandonment at holiday time, because of people not having access to affordable pet care and trusted pet care. So we help achieve one of their
objectives. And that in turn means there's less dogs in the in the RSPCA, which means less dogs get put down, etc., etc.
Yeah, so each holiday, like every Easter and every Christmas, typically, they have just received like dogs tied up at their door or a box of puppies, and just here you go, your problem now.
And did you have to put any like metrics or ROI or anything around that, or they were just like, I get it, we need this so that there's less?
Yeah, so they were already looking at a European solution at the time. And I knew their head of digital and ended up having breakfast with him, and he said, I can't tell you why, but you need to go see them now.
Okay.
And so it was a very sort of easy pitch
Cool.
because they wanted it anyway, and they liked the fact that we were based in Brisbane, and they were going to have close access to an Australian team that they could work with.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
Cool. And now, where are you? Where's PetCloud at?
Yeah.
How long since that day, that RSPCA day?
Oh, well, we went live in April 2015, so it wasn't long after they came on board, so it was probably maybe June or July.
Yes.
And then there was this big announcement that got syndicated across all the news.
So sort of coming up to 4 years.
Yeah, coming up to 4 years now. And now we've got, about 115,000 users. We've got the number one network.
People requesting to get their dogs sat?
No.
Looked after?
That's in total database.
Okay.
And then in terms of our network, we've got the leading network of pet sitters and dog walkers. So we've got about 30,000 of those across Australia. And a lot of those have come organically, and some of them have come through our strategic partners. In terms of pet owners, we have an API integration with RSPCA Queensland's pet adoption system called Shelter Buddy, and that is a global system whereby if a pet is adopted at a pet event or an adoption event, we seamlessly get a pet and a pet owner record if they've chosen to opt in to get 10% off pet sitting with PetCloud.
And how do you guys make money as PetCloud?
Yep. So it's a two-sided marketplace.
Yes.
We get the pet owner to pay up front. They have a meet and greet, but basically we hold on to the funds and we pay 81% at the end of the stay to the sitter, and we retain 19%.
Yes. And how did you come up with that whole meet and greet and everything? Did it take you a while to sort of get to the right formula?
So we didn't understand how mandatory or how relevant it was, and the relevance of the RSPCA has been massive for us. They have been incredibly strategic, incredibly supportive, incredibly educational, and they've just been an amazing strategic partner. So before they were to endorse us, we had a round table with their senior inspectors, their foster carers, their dog trainers, their head vet, and their head of marketing to understand the process of onboarding a pet sitter and then onboarding a pet owner, and then what's the steps involved in them meeting offline, and then what's the process in between when a pet stay takes place. And they said it's mandatory, like everyone should have a meet and greet, and here's the reasons why. And
that's awesome to get insight from them.
Oh yeah, they're amazing. They've never taken like a policing, like you should not do this, or you will be doing this. They've always gone, here's an eye-opener as to what could go on, and because initially I just thought, great strategic partnership, but I didn't realise just how much value that they would bring. And their staff are amazing. Their CEO is just incredibly entrepreneurial and understands startups and differing startup needs, loves his technology, and we now leverage their call centre. So some marketplaces, one of their key costs, or basically half their cost base, is running a quality call centre. Yeah. And so we originally tried to fund a call centre in the valley here.
True.
And then that was exorbitantly high and unsustainable.
Right.
And then there
Why
was
is that? Because of Australian staffing costs?
Yes.
Okay. And leases and rent?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And then there was a place that we got put forward to us, and it was out at Capella, but I didn't have a gut feeling just around our data. Because you've also got to have ensure that your data is going to be safe as well.
Yes.
So I trusted my gut, and then we thought, oh, let's try offshoring it. So we tried offshoring with the Philippines, but then we got that many complaints that, like for example, pet owners would say, oh, I went and rang and someone was asleep, or I asked for a basic task and they couldn't understand English.
Do you think that's common to Philippines, or that was just like who you'd chosen?
It's a combination of hiring well and hiring like both for character and good standards.
Those that I know have done it successfully go over there, spend time, meet them, onboard the people themselves.
Yeah. So you've got to fully induct the team into your team and make them feel a part of it as well. So there was all different factors, and then people were just like, why is it in the Philippines? You've got an Australian website, why isn't it Australian? Blah, blah, blah. We just feel like we're passed offshore and not realising just the cost, the huge cost. So what we've been able to do is leverage the RSPCA's call centre, and so now the actual RSPCA's volunteers answer our phones. They take our customer support and email tickets, and they actually answer the phone as "Hello, PetCloud."
Yes.
And in return, we pay RSPCA a monthly call centre fee, and we feel great about that because it means that we're paying them to support their rescue work.
How good's that?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, and it's high quality. It's all monitored.
They care clearly.
They absolutely care, and they do. Like, I can't speak more highly of them. The projects they get involved in can be the Pets in Crisis program to help women trapped in
the Good Beer companies.
Good Beer Co.
Beer,
they're
it's
just
awesome.
amazing. They're just forward thinking, and
So what are some other things that you thought were going to work originally? Like I tried to see with that meeting in person. What are some other things that you did that you thought would work originally that sort of didn't work out?
What can I say on the podcast?
You said anything goes before we started.
So I think when you first start, you do have rose-coloured glasses, and you do think that your team will always have the same stamina as you, or the same interests and directions. But as a founder, I think you've got that driving vision in your head, and you've got so much invested personally. So there's like part of my house in this, whereas they've come on board and put in sweat equity, and while there's time, there's no sort of houses or assets, that have been
There's
sold.
universes apart from working with someone with equity, working by yourself on something normal, and then trying to change the world with what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Universes between each.
So I agree. So it was with that we had one tech co-founder. Like, we still retained the other one, but I was disappointed that one tech co-founder left after 2 years, and we thought that he was going to continue overseas working with us after hours from his new job, and he just didn't. So I found that disappointing because we left on really great terms. And
How many FTEs do you have?
So we have full time. At the moment, I'm full time. The rest is full time call center, like a pool of call center staff, and then we're using intermittent people, so your SEM, SEO people, your bookkeeping, our CTO. So, for example, I believe that you don't need to pay a CTO full time.
Like a virtual CTO.
Well, he comes in. We do work with him, but I just think you need to have a CTO that can be a shepherd. and do your QA and be a guide. But if you're paying a CTO full time, that's a lot of waste of money when you could achieve the same thing with his guidance and someone who might be a mid-weight full stack developer or something.
Agreed. We just recommended that on the Facebook group, whatever it was, maybe earlier this week.
Yeah.
Tell me a really funny story that's happened. Yeah, I mean, clearly a sort of a pet sitting story. You must have one.
Yeah, there was, there's been a couple. There was one guy, Sean, who did our website, and he wanted to try out pet sitting, and he'd never owned a dog before, and he looked after this little dog, and it was pet sitting, like staying at his house. And he was kind of single and independent and stuff, and he put it to sleep in the little bed, and then it crawled up in the middle of the night under his covers and snuggled up next to him, and he was just like, oh, what do I do with this, because he was, I don't know, it's so cute and little, but I don't know, what else?
How does each side of the marketplace communicate with PetCloud? I mean, so they can call, but like something like that, did you hear through call center, or was that like a email, or they wrote a Facebook review?
Well, in that case, we knew Sean, so he emailed me and told me.
Sure.
But there is feedback, and that's super important as well. So all of our pet owners leave feedback on our pet sitters' walls after the stay, and it's also important to gauge the feedback of the people who are providing the service. So actually to nurture your sitters, because they're doing an amazing job for you, and they need to feel loved, and you want to make sure that they're happy as well.
Second last question. What do you do to try and build sort of community and buy-in around what you're doing? I think that's often like a trick to a marketplace. What do you guys do?
So I do videos in my pet sitter group. So I talk to them, literally going, oh guys, this happened this week, or just watch out for this, or blah, blah, blah. Sometimes I will do it on the Facebook page as well. I do have another pet owners group as well, where I'll do videos, but it's just about inclusiveness, accessibility, so access to me, and then allowing that people a vehicle to share as well, so that's within groups, so people are being heard and they feel like they're a part of something, rather than just a Facebook page that's one way and just pushing out to people.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Last question.
Okay.
You're the marketing guru, and I went on your website and I found the information on there overwhelming. As an example, if you scroll to the bottom, there's our difference, service and prices, help about PetCloud, about PetCloud, and 5-star sitters. And there's at least 10 buttons I could click under each one. What's the reason behind that?
Well, we were told originally that was an SEO strategy.
Really?
Yeah, we've gotten differing SEO advice over the years. I'm not fond of it myself, but we are going through a process of capital raising at the moment, and so there will be different changes that's rolled out on the website. So stay tuned.
A talk for another time.
Yes.
Thank you so much for today. I really appreciate it, Deb.
That's okay. All good. Thanks, Jock.
And that's it for another week with our podcast series From Startups to Growups. If you enjoyed that, you can find out more about Little Tokyo 2 on www.littletokyo2.com, and you can find more of our podcasts on soundcloud.com/Little Tokyo 2. Thank you, and speak to you next week.